Greetings, Fire Chargers, Darkblade here, and in this video I will be reacting to the fascinating Hokkien language part 1 by FunChineseHistory, who has almost 9,000 subscribers. This video was uploaded on July 24th, 2022, and has 375,000 views and 9,500 likes. This creator has in total 3 videos, 2 of which are about Hokkien, and the last video was from 2 years ago. I'm recording this video, one, because I have had a bit of a recent interest in Hokkien and other Chinese languages in general. I have did some research into Hokkien, but so far I have not done much research or into Hakka beyond Wikipedia, unfortunately. And another thing is, I have unfortunately once again gone quite a bit of time without having posted a video. So I need to fix that. I don't know if I'm going to learn Hokkien soon, but I do want to one day have it in my inventory, as well as Cantonese, and I already have Mandarin, so I just need to get better than that and recover whatever knowledge I may have lost. I don't know if I'm going to go after other Chinese language families or Chinese languages or dialect groups like U or Hakka, but anyway, time to start this video.
Hello,
and this is 福建话成长片. I was only able to read this part because of text that appeared later in the video itself. By the way, don't use me as a source for tones. I might have gotten the tones wrong. But by the way, this is the Mandarin way of reading these characters. I think this is Pian, but it is not the native Hokkien way. For example, in Hokkien, the province name Fujian is itself Hokkien, and this character Hua, meaning speech, is Wei. And again, I don't know the tones for that.
Video series, I would like to introduce you to a fascinating
I'll put it on full screen.
Hokkien. Hokkien is a language that is mainly spoken in the southeastern part of China's Fujian province and also the coastal areas of Taiwan.
Yeah, it's actually like what's it called? The native language of the majority of Taiwanese people. Right, in fact, a lot of China's linguistic diversity comes from this area, the southeastern portion.
Due to the migration,
that's where Cantonese is spoken. I think that's also around where other languages like Gan and Hakka are spoken.
Of Hokkien speakers in the past few hundred years. Today, its speakers are also found in many other parts of Asia, such as Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. There are 28 million speakers in Fujian, 13.5 million speakers in Taiwan, and up to 3 million speakers in the rest of Asia.
Okay.
Hokkien is sometimes also called the Southern Min language, which can be confusing
because
Southern Min also refers to the Southern Min language family, which comprises of not just the Hokkien.
Okay, this is not the technical way that the word language family is used. I think officially in linguistics, it is used to refer to the highest order grouping of related languages. So, for example, you could say the Sino-Tibetan language family, which refers to the Chinese languages along with Tibetan, Burmese, and all other languages that are genetically related to those. But one could not just say the Chinese, but not just say the Southern Ming language family or even the Chinese language family. That is my understanding.
Language, but also other Chinese languages such as Teochew.
In fact,
the term Hokkien itself is also somewhat of a misnomer, as Hokkien refers to the Fujian province, which is home to many different languages and not just Hokkien.
Okay, that part about what the word Hokkien literally means is correct.
However, to avoid confusion, I will simply refer to the language as Hokkien in this video.
Okay.
One thing to note about Hokkien is that it is a relatively unique language when compared to other Chinese languages. To understand why...
Yeah, I think his creator's voice was a bit more raspy in that sentence than in previous parts of the video. So one unique thing about Hokkien is that it has 797 different syllables, not including tone. That is a lot. For example, Cantonese has only like 620, and Mandarin has only a bit over 400. The reason why is because in Hokkien, by the way, this is from the Taiwan 爱语罗马字拼音方案使用手册. Keep in mind that's my attempt at Mandarin pronunciation minus any tone amnesia or tones that I just never knew. This is obviously not the Hokkien pronunciation. This means Taiwanese language romanization pinyin system user guide use manual. Interestingly, the Tai character that symbolizes Taiwan is written simplified here but traditional here. I don't know why. If we scroll and scroll, you find that Hokkien has 75 different ways, not including tone, to end a syllable. This is because it has not just the standard 6 consonant. Let's go to this. Let me rephrase this. In Cantonese, there are 9 different ways to end a syllable. Excluding tone. There's a bare vowel, the vowel plus a y coda, which is written or which could be analyzed as a diphthong of a vowel and then ending going into e, a vowel plus a w coda, which can be analyzed as a diphthong of the main vowel going into u. There is also the m coda, the n coda, the l coda, the p, the t, and the k. So keep in mind those voiceless stops are said with no audible release. However, there are even more ways in Hokkien. There is a lot of stop. So we're at 10 and nasalized vowel 11. The y coda plus nasalized vowel. Now we're at 12, and the nasalized vowel plus scuttle stop, that's 13, and one more. Oh yeah, and there's also this thing, the what coda plus block auto stop at the end. Is that it? Yeah, I think it's it. Oh yeah, and what's it called? The syllabic nails, and can also take a glottal stop after them. And the syllabic nasals can also take initial consonants with no vowel in between. So that is another thing about Hokkien. Oh yeah, and unlike, what is it called? Oh, it's Cantonese. Hokkien allows glides. Here are palatal glides, and yeah, and here are, what is it called? Labial glides. Wa. Cantonese only allows the palatal glide with the null initial, and what's it called? The velar glide, the labial glide with the null initial, and also with ka and ga.
when compared to other Chinese languages.
Hokkien allows both glides with a lot more initials.
To understand why, it is important to know that almost all the Chinese languages today, such as Mandarin, Hakka, Shanghainese, Cantonese, are derived directly from Middle Chinese.
Mandarin is literally called in this graphic 现代汉语, modern Chinese. And I'm guessing that by Middle Chinese he means the a medieval era pronunciation system of Chinese indicated in the Qieyun and later rhyme tables. And that the Min languages, including Hokkien, do not descend from that system.
Much like how the Romance languages today came from Vulgar Latin. The Min language family, of which Hokkien is part of, is an exception. In fact, Hokkien is understood to have diverged from Old Chinese, the predecessor of Middle Chinese. But while Hokkien has diverged since Old Chinese, Middle Chinese also has had a huge influence on the Hokkien language since they evolved alongside.
Yeah, one example of this is that Hokkien does not have a post-coda sound like Old Chinese does. It also has a Middle Chinese tone system and doesn't have Old Chinese's weird, what's it called? Und affixes onto syllables that it is commonly reconstructed with.
The reason for this difference is due to Fujian's exceedingly mountainous and riverine terrain, which presents huge barriers to traveling in and out of the region in the past, before modern transportation was invented. This means that there is an isolating effect on the language, and language changes in neighboring areas do not easily reach speakers within the region. In fact, transportation is such an issue that even within Fujian itself, the languages have developed to become extremely diverse. I referred to Min as a group of languages spoken in Fujian province earlier, but the Min language family can be further divided into Southern Min, Eastern Min, Northern Min, Central Min, and Puxian Min, each of them a family of languages in their own right.
Again, technically that is not what language family means.
Within the Hokkien language, which is a language of the Southern Min family, there are many dialects spoken depending on where the speaker comes from. The most common dialects of Hokkien are the Quanzhou dialect, the Changzhou dialect, and the Amoy dialect. Due to this,
So it seems like Quanzhong, what it says here, is a portmanteau of these two.
Diversity, there is no standard way to speak Hokkien, and so if you're a Hokkien speaker, some of the pronunciations in this video may differ from yours.
But from what I heard online, I will go to, what's it called, Chrome, because that actually saves the, pages. And it says, yes, Taiwanese. And here's Quora. Is Philippine Hokkien mutually intelligible, the same or similar with the Hokkien spoken in Singapore, Malaysia, and Taiwan? And this answerer says, who apparently has got the top answer, says, I would say it's 80 to 90% mutually intelligible with Chenzhou Minnan, Southern Malaysian, and this answer said, I'd say mutually intelligible, though one would notice that the accent is different. Intelligible, although the situation is somewhat similar to British and American English, with yes, it is at least 60% and quite easily understood by those from different countries. So apparently the various different dialects of Hokkien are apparently quite close to each other. There are also different dialects of Mandarin that sound different, but I can still understand some. For example, some dialects do not distinguish the alveolar and retroflex sibilant series, so they do not pronounce s and sh differently. So sa and sha are the same, but from my experience, I can still understand such speakers. I think maybe it's something similar with Hokkien.
Some of the pronunciations in this video may differ in dialect. Due to this diversity, there is no standard way to speak Hokkien, and so if you're a Hokkien speaker, some of the pronunciations in this video may differ from yours. As I'm from Singapore, I will be pronouncing words in a way that will be more familiar to the Hokkien speakers here, which is a mixture of the Quanzhou and Zhangzhou dialects.
Okay. Migration
Hokkien
from
today
northern
is
side.
shaped by the migration and the integration of Han Chinese from the Central Plains in northern China and Zhangzhou dialects.
Okay.
Hokkien today is shaped by the migration and the integration of Han Chinese from the Central Plains in northern China to the region over the past 2 millennia. But there was
Yeah, I heard from, I think it was Learn Chinese Now channel, that the Chinese languages originated from here, and that these languages, their speakers' ancestors are ultimately from here. These are not just languages of people that have just always lived in Fujian or Guangzhou that eventually got heavily influenced by Chinese. No, these are Chinese languages that come from here. And apparently, I don't know about Tibetan Dzongkha or what's it called, Burmese, as they are. Oh, by the way, why aren't Nepal and Bhutan in this map? And I think two of the stans, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, also aren't on the map.
several mass migration waves that have significantly influenced the language. One of the most notable waves of migration to the Fujian region came about when the Jin dynasty was invaded by northern tribes between 304 CE and 316 CE, a period known as the upheaval of the 5 Hu tribes. The resulting chaos forced many from northern China to escape to the south, to Fujian, where they brought along their language to the region. A lot of the colloquial pronunciations of Hokkien words originated from this wave of migration.
So this is from the early 4th century. This is after the Han Dynasty. And if you have watched Native Lang's most recent video, like I have, you would know that the Han Dynasty was a major period of transition where characters start to become a lot like what they were in early Middle Chinese.
To understand
By
what
do
colloquial
white read
pronunciations are, you should
when
know
do
that in all Chinese
something like
languages, there are 2
writing a
types of
read.
pronunciations for the Chinese characters: the colloquial readings and the literary readings. Literary pronunciations are usually used in more formal settings, such as names and loanwords, while colloquial pronunciations are more commonly used in everyday speech.
By the way, this H at the end is the marker of the glottal stop coda. So it would be oh. I don't know if that captures it. I'm not sure how to clearly articulate a difference between a syllable ending in a glottal stop and me just ceasing to speak. So this would be hak. Again, what's it called? The k sound is technically under no audible release, but I released it in order to make it sound audibly different than a glottal stop to anyone watching this video.
In some languages like Mandarin, most of the characters have only one way of being pronounced, and there are only a few instances where
So let me try to read a comment on this. Okay, gonna give up on that. Apparently, there is also a separate literary versus colloquial reading of this character. One of them is Xiao. Now, but it's just that only Xie is ever realistically encountered.
there are differing colloquial and literary readings. In Hokkien, however, due to the linguistic influences from different dynasties, an astounding 40% of the characters have differing pronunciations. While a lot of Hokkien's colloquial readings come from its earlier influences, its literary readings largely stems from Middle Chinese pronunciations that were adopted later on during the Tang and Song dynasties, from the 7th to the 13th century. As an example, let's look at the character for learn. When it is used in the context of the word school, we
So let me. So the what's it called? Inheritance. The what's it called? The colloquial readings there comes from this period that's after the Han Dynasty. So after stuff like tonogenesis and the type A and B happens with them.
the Tang and Song dynasties, from the 7th to the 13th century. As an example, let's look at the character for learn.
学
When it is used in the context of the word school, we use the colloquial reading and it is pronounced as o. So school in Hokkien would be o deng. But if it is
That is an example of what I was talking about earlier. You have an initial consonant and a syllabic nasal, but no vowel in between them. Hakseng, I think Korean is also quite similar in this regard. And by the way, in Mandarin school is 学校. And in Cantonese, I think it's like 学校.
used in the context of the word student, we then use the literary pronunciation and it is then pronounced ha. So student in Hokkien is Haksing.
So I don't know why Hokkien uses a different character for school, but if that's what works for it.
Sometimes the choice of colloquial or literary reading for the same word depends on the context. For example, if I'm telling someone that I'm going to the university today, I would use the colloquial reading and say Dua O. But if I were to read out the name of a university, it is more appropriate to use the literary pronunciation Dai Hak.
So apparently Hokkien reads this with as an E ending diphthong. Cantonese reads this as an E ending diphthong. Japanese reads this as an E ending diphthong. Middle Korean reads this as an E ending diphthong. In modern Korean, it is contracted the diphthong, so now it's deha. So now this character is pronounced de in Korean. But Mandarin doesn't. It's just da. Wait, no, I mean da.
If we were to read out the name of the National University of Singapore in Hokkien, we would say Singapore Quốc立大學.
So 新加坡国立大学. I just went through 4 languages that pronounce it as something like dai, so my brain switched to that. And interestingly, you see this is ga, not kya. So apparently in Hokkien it is not palatalized, but in Mandarin it became palatalized. That happens sometimes.
To further complicate matters, choice of literary or colloquial reading is also occasionally dependent on the dialect of Hokkien that you are speaking in. Here are a few more examples of differing colloquial and literary readings.
Tao ge.
Tao ge. Ga gi. E dui. Bei ha. Gia. Ga gi. E dui. Bei ha.
Oh, that ha. That's another example of where it is not palatalized in apparently Hokkien. I think it's also not palatalized in Cantonese or Japanese, but it is palatalized in Mandarin.
Gia.
By the way, that superscript N is used to indicate a nasalized vowel. And I think we can now determine what romanization system is being used in this video, because it's definitely neither title nor what's it called, old pet Ji, because pet Ji spells the ts sound as ch. H and the what glide with the letter O. But title spells nasal vowels with a double N. What is it with this ad? So it's also not TLPA. Maybe it's this one, which is 泰语通用拼音. Why does it keep?
背哈 行 接行 nguồn hàng.
So, here he did not palatalize it. Is it so you didn't say something like Jipeng? I heard from Wikipedia that TSI can be is alphonically palatalized, but apparently that isn't mandatory from what I'm hearing.
Moving on, let's go through some aspects of the past which have since been lost in other Chinese languages, but preserved in Hokkien. The first is the lack of labiodental consonants in the Hokkien language. Labiodental consonants are consonants like the F or V sounds that are produced by pressing the lower lips against the upper teeth. This is why if you ask a random Chinese person on the street on what is the first stereotype that they have of a native Hokkien speaker, many of them would likely tell you that the Hokkien speaker cannot pronounce the F consonant sound. Labiodental consonants were introduced into late Middle Chinese around the 10th century, whereby many labial sounds such as the B, B, and P consonants changed into the F and V consonants, since all the other
Yeah, and some Chinese languages did the labial dental shift more than others, and in environments where others, what's it called, did it not. For example, there are characters that begin with a h sound in Mandarin, but with a f sound in Cantonese or Hakka. Then again, there are also characters that begin with a h sound in Hokkien that begin with a f sound in Mandarin. So I don't know if Mandarin's also doing this irregular change or change of h to f, or maybe it's changing these original labials stops to what is it called? H is what's irregular, and the other Chinese languages are, and Cantonese and Hakka are acting more regularly. Wait, actually, scratch that. That one's definitely most likely not the case because of how the character Hong is rendered in Japanese. Means that the Mandarin initial is closer to what it originally was. It was originally a h like sound, and not bilabial. So this would indicate that Hokkien also, what's it called, turned some bilabials to h sounds, which is a change that also happened in Japanese. P eventually became h in several contexts. At the beginning of words, unless the vowel after was u. Then in the middle of words, it just disappeared unless the following vowel was a, in which case it became wa.
Chinese languages descended from late Middle Chinese. They all contain labiodental consonants. We can observe the introduction of labiodental consonants into Chinese languages when we hear the sounds of words borrowed from Indo-Aryan languages like Sanskrit or Pali that contain the B or P consonant. For example, the Chinese character for Buddha is pronounced as Fo in Mandarin and Fat in Cantonese, but in the colloquial reading in Hokkien, it retains the original sound of Bud. Here are some other examples comparing the Hokkien pronunciations of several characters with its Mandarin counterpart. Bui, Fei, Bang, Fang, Bun, Fen, Pang, Fang. Another interesting feature of Old Chinese that has been preserved in Hokkien is the absence of retroflex initial consonants, which are sounds like zh or ch in languages like Mandarin. It is only in Middle Chinese that the retroflex initials were developed. Again,
Yeah, other languages like Cantonese also don't have them. I remember checking Hakka yesterday, but I don't remember if it had them or not.
we can see this
Meishan
evolution
Hakka.
when looking at the transliteration of foreign words. For
Okay.
example, one of the ancient Chinese names for India is this, today
Tianzhu.
pronounced as Tianzhu in Mandarin. This term originated from the Old Persian name for India, Hinduka. The sound duka is represented by this character, which is pronounced as tu in Old Chinese. In Mandarin, we can see that tu has changed to chu. In Hokkien, it is pronounced as tio, and we can see that the initial consonant has not experienced the shift. Again, here are a few other examples comparing the Hokkien pronunciations with their Mandarin counterparts. Deng, chang.
So that was another example of what is it called? Syllabic nasal taking an initial consonant.
Deng,
And this is
zhuan,
zhong,
tiong,
diong,
zhong,
zhong.
de, cha. De is interestingly enough also the origin of the word tea in English.
So what about the other retroflex initials like sh and r?
At this point, you may be curious as to why certain sounds are romanized the way they are in Hokkien. Why is pang romanized with a ph instead of just a p? And why is de romanized with a t instead of a d? That's because in Hokkien, there are voiced consonants, or what the ancient Chinese phonologists call muddy sounds.
Yeah, I
Voiced
think U also has those.
consonants are sounds that are made by vibrating the vocal cords. In English, the word zip is voiced, while sip is voiceless. In Hokkien, the letters B and P are used to distinguish the voiced B sound and the voiceless P sound, and PH is then used to represent the aspirated P sound. Let's take a listen to the following example of these three different consonant sounds. Bang,
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 pang.
pang, bang, bang,
Likewise,
pang,
we have the voiced
bang,
and voiceless
bang,
G
pang.
and K pair. Here is an example. Ge,
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 ke.
ke, ge, 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 ke.
Like several other Southern Chinese languages, Hokkien also preserves the M, P, T, and K final consonants, which are lost in Mandarin. This greatly affects Hokkien tones, as we will see in the next video. Here are some characters which end with these consonants. Giap,
Gyap,
bak,
bak,
ging chat gyok,
ging cha gyok,
tak ji,
tak ji,
cham ka,
cham ka,
gam xia.
gam xia.
I have gone through several aspects of the past that have been preserved in Hokkien, but there is no such thing as a static language, and Hokkien is no exception. It has also evolved in unique ways by itself.
Correct.
One notable change is the shift of the nasal consonants like the m and ng sounds to voiced plosive sounds like the b and g sounds. Cantonese, on the other hand, has preserved the nasal consonant sounds relatively well. Let's compare some.
Yeah, and other languages, and Mandarin has, but not perfectly. For example, the initial nga sound has just no longer exists, and ma has sometimes shifted to wa.
Hokkien words with their Cantonese equivalent to observe this evolution. Gua,
Gua,
ngo,
ngo,
go,
go,
ban,
ban,
man,
man,
bi,
bi,
mei,
mei,
mok gui,
bok gui,
gua,
mok gua,
bi jin,
bi jin,
mei yan,
mei yan.
xin bun, san man.
So we have, what's that called? That double O. That is also something that appears in Tylo. but not in Pei Wei Ji. I want to know if it also appears in in Taiyu Tongyong Pinyin, which I have judged to be the and moments of truth. Oh, Taiyu Tongyong Pinyin does not use the double O. So now I'm confused. And I don't know how extensive this shift was, this denasalization, because here, this thing, this handbook, which was produced by the Taiwan Ministry of Education, does have ma versus ba as distinct initials. For example, me, these are the characters pronounced me, and these are the characters pronounced b. There is also a distinction between nga and nga. For example, these two characters are ga, and be careful not to. And this character is nga. There is no duh because when na denasalized to duh, it later merged into la. That's why the Hokkien way to say Minnan, Southern Min, is ban lam, not ban nan, or not ban nam or ban dam, it's ban lam. But this thing's also still contrasts la with na, so I'm not sure how extensive that shift was. For example, here is la. And there's the character lam itself, meaning and there is na. Apparently, nan and nam don't exist as, what's it called? Syllables, na. So yeah, this denasalization was a real shift, but there are still contrasts, so I'm not sure how extensive it was.
To observe this mo qua, also in many kwe mo qua bi jin,
Bijin,
meiyan,
Xinbun, Sanman.
Also mo kwe mo qua.
And of course, I'm also going to and I'm also going to pronounce all of these in Mandarin. 我五一二三四五六 man. I don't know if the tone is right. I don't recognize this character, but I think this is Wei with some tone. 木瓜 watermelon. 美国 and 美人 and this is 新闻. As you can see, there's that ma to wa shift. background.
Also,
And also the initial nga just being deleted.
in many places, Hokkien has lost the R vowel. For example, these characters had the R vowel replaced by the O and sounds. Xiong, de,
To,
gear.
gye.
Let's
So a single O represents a schwa sound in these cases and not an O sound. That's a double O.
compare them to Mandarin, which has preserved the R vowel sounds for these words. Shang,
Shang,
Dao,
Dao,
Qiao
Qiao.
will
So it appears that once this shift, the shifted to these kind of like combined with the what coda and contracted into just
end this video with a famous Tang Dynasty poem called Quiet Night Thought, recited in both literary Hokkien and Middle Chinese. See if you can notice some of the language changes that I've mentioned before. 整雅书, Li Bing, Jiang Ya Si, Liu Ba.
Yeah, so apparently Middle Chinese had that yu, was it called pao, front high rounded vowel,
Which changes that I've mentioned
yu,
before.
and
整雅
Middle
书,
Chinese.
Li Bing, Jiang Ya Si, Liu Ba.
And Mandarin also has that vowel, but not in this character. So,
从前看月光，让人看月光。
so here we have a bit of, seems like the to all, and also getting rid of that, what's it called? This part, denasalization, 江zhen. And I don't know what this is called. And yeah, no retro.
仪式地上霜，热热地上香。骨头望山角，叫路名声压。地头思故乡，地路思故乡。
I'll have his video copied and I will react to the other one tomorrow, but not today and not in this video because this video is already almost 50 minutes long.